What's up everybody, 40 the Broadway Saiyan here, and welcome back again to my YouTube channel, bringing you guys another video on Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. For this video, we're going to be talking about the next upcoming brand new character on Global Opera Omnia, which is going to be Reno from Final Fantasy VII. We're going to be talking about what Reno brings with his entire kit, what are my thoughts about the character, as well as the banner that is going to be released with this event, and then we're going to be doing that Let's Play for Reno, giving you guys kind of like a sneak peek of how Reno plays with his skills and things like that. But first, if you guys are brand new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. That way you guys are not missing out on future uploads. And also, if you find the content on this channel enjoyable and useful, be sure to hit that like button and share this video, as it does help me out. As always, I want to give a big thanks and shout outs to Rem from the Dissidia DB, because all of the information on this video comes from his amazing website, as well as to Macnull and the Dissidia Info, another fantastic resource for Opera Omnia, as well as to the Opera Omnia tracker, giving us a way to track our progress within the game, as well as to the FFOO tip, a great resource to check out when an event is going to be coming out with its timers, as well as to the Tonberry Troop for the amount of time and effort they take to create those lovely infographics summarizing each and one of these characters, as well as their amazing website for Opera Omnia. Big thanks as well to the Final Fantasy TCC podcast, giving us a weekly podcast to fulfill our Opera Omnia needs. And last but not least, all of the rest of the DFFOO content creators, streamers, and those of you that create those lovely guides, such as the spreadsheets, the visuals, as well as all your posts on Reddit. Everything that you guys do just makes this game so much more enjoyable and really brings the community together. Without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the debut of Reno from Final Fantasy VII. Reno debuts in Opera Omnia, specializing in heavily debuffing an enemy by not only making them more vulnerable to damage, but by also shutting down their offense and delaying their actions. Through his entire kit, Reno has access to 3 unique debuffs and 1 unique buff. His unique buff, Turk Strike Captain, increases his own attack and max brave and grants him Thunder Enchant. Having Turk Strike Captain active also grants Reno access to his Brave Attack ++, which is a 4-hit Thunder Melee single-target Brave Attack, and access to his HP Attack ++, which is a 3-hit Thunder Melee single-target Brave plus single-target HP Attack with a 120% Brave Overflow. His 3 unique debuffs are Numb, which decreases an enemy's physical attack and physical defense and delays them by 2 turns after taking an action that delivers a physical attack, Turk's Light, which decreases an enemy's attack and defense and inflicts Thunder Imperil, and Pyramid, which increases an enemy's brave damage taken, reduces their brave and HP damage dealt to 0, and disables their ability to inflict debuffs. Pyramid will be dispelled if an enemy performs any one of those actions. Reno's C65 ability is called Debuff Act Long Slash, which has a total of 2 uses. This delivers a 2-hit, non-elemental melee single-target Brave plus single-target HP attack that increases his own max Brave and extends the base duration of his self-inflicted debuffs by 2 turns. His most noteworthy passives from his Crystal Awakenings are as follows. His C50 passive, Consummate Professional, increases his own max Brave and attack while Turk Strike Captain is active. His C54 passive, which increases his own attack and speed while buffed. His C58 passive, which increases his own max Brave and attack while buffed. And finally, his C68 passive, which permanently increases his own attack. Next, let's take a look at his Skill 1 Electroprod and his Skill 2 Electric Dance. His Skill 1 Electroprod has a total of 10 uses that delivers a 3-hit Thunder Melee AoE Brave plus 2-hit Thunder Melee single-target Brave plus single-target HP attack with an increased Brave damage on the AoE hits against a single target, 120% Brave Overflow, 50% HP splash damage, and inflicts Numb for 4 turns. His Skill 2 Electric Dance has a total of 7 uses, which delivers a 4-hit Thunder Melee single-target Brave plus single-target HP attack, followed by a 6-hit Thunder Melee single-target Brave plus single-target HP attack with a 150% Brave Overflow, and grants Turk Strike Captain to self for 8 turns. Reno's Call ability, with its level 80 Crystal Awakening, allows him to use his Skill 1 Electroprod when called upon that delivers the same damage as his Skill 1 and inflicts Numb for 4 turns. Reno's EX weapon at full limit break and prior to its realization grants him access to his EX skill Turk Light, which has a normal recast speed. Turk Light delivers an 8-hit Thunder Melee AoE Brave plus AoE HP attack with an increased Brave damage against a single target, 100% AoE HP damage, and inflicts Turk's Light for 6 turns. Upon realizing his EX weapon, Reno is granted the following upgrades. 0 out of 3 increases Turk's Light Brave potency and adds a 120% Brave overflow. 1 out of 3 permanently increases his max Brave and attack. 2 out of 3 allows him to start the quest with Turk Strike Captain for 8 turns and allows him to inflict Turk's Light on all enemies for 6 turns at the start of each wave. Finally, 3 out of 3 further improves Turk Light, increasing its Brave hits to 12, increasing its Brave potency, and increasing its Brave overflow. The E-type sphere unlocked from his EX weapon is called Break Physical Attack Down All, which allows the equipped user to decrease all enemies' physical attack for 3 turns when breaking a target. Lastly, let's take a look at his LD weapon. Reno's LD weapon at full limit break permanently increases his max Brave and attack and equips him with his LD skill Pyramid, which has a total uses of 4. Pyramid delivers an 8-hit Thunder Melee AoE Brave plus AoE HP attack with an increased Brave damage against a single target, 150% Brave overflow, 100% AoE HP damage, dispels 1 buff on all enemies, and inflicts Pyramid on all enemies. Recommended artifact passes for Reno are 3 copies of Attack plus 108 and 3 copies of Consummate Professional Boost 2-star to ensure his damage output is at its best for the difficult content to come. Reno's 7-star High Guard armor allows him to lower all enemies' initial Brave, max Brave and attack by 10%, and lower their defense by 20%. Guys, so now that we've gone ahead and talked about what Reno brings to the table, what are my thoughts on the character? I think he's great. If you're looking for a very powerful debuffer that specifically specializes in shutting down enemies that really rely on physical attacks, then Reno is definitely a character worth considering to pick up. If you take a look at his debuffs, they're quite good. The Numb debuff that lasts for 4 turns, that is framed, and as you could see, not only does it hamper down their physical defense as well as their physical attacks, but it also allows you to delay them after the enemy hits you with a physical attack. So if you're up against bosses that mainly rely on physical type damage, Reno is really going to be messing around with them and shutting them down, because he's not only allowing you to deal more damage to them, he's also allowing them to deal less damage to you and will also be delaying them by 2 turns. So he's pretty cool in just that regard alone. Now his Turk Strike Captain, it is a pretty powerful buff. However, it is only for himself. As you could see, Reno doesn't really add anything to the party as far as utility or anything like that. Everything is for himself, so you just want to be aware that the character himself is pretty selfish, but at least he does apply Thunder Imperil now with the Turk's Light, which comes from the debuff from his EX, so he definitely complements characters such as, for example, Lightning, who is also synergy for this particular event. Lightning works really, really well with Reno because Reno has a framed debuff that has the Thunder Imperil attached to it, so he really complements characters such as Lightning. And then afterwards, take a look at that LD skill. That Pyramid skill can really come in handy and can really be a lifesaver when dealing with a very powerful incoming attack, because what that does is, as long as that debuff is active, and remember, Pyramid does not have a turn duration, it just stays there, and the only way that it'll get dispelled is if the enemy target either does a Brave attack, HP attack, or some type of an ability that applies a debuff. That is the only way it can be dispelled. So you can really have some really powerful setups with this particular debuff active, and maybe another character that can shut down the enemy from taking their turn. For example, like Edward. I can think of Edward as like a great way for them to be put to sleep while also having that debuff, because that debuff also allows your characters to be able to deal more Brave damage, because it does increase the amount of Brave damage that the target takes. So overall, Reno is a great character to be able to disrupt. He is there to add the Thunder Imperil. He has the Thunder Enchant to himself. While not necessarily a party player, or he supports the party in any sort of way, I think he's He's great for being there to disrupt enemies because that is the goal for this character. So if you guys have the resources to be able to pull for this character, I personally recommend him. I really like him. He also has a really good call ability because he comes out, does a skill 1, applies numb, and again, if you're up against a boss that really likes to use physical attacks, well, there's 4 turns of them of being delayed for 2 turns. So, that's really, really powerful in itself. And then what's really cool about a physical attack down is that it works really well with just an attack down debuff in conjunction, because the attack down debuff is going to be lowering their attack across the board, and then afterwards you throw on that physical attack one, which hampers them even further. So characters such as Reno will definitely allow you to be taking less damage from enemies. Now, as far as the banner that is going to be coming out with this event, it will have all of Reno's gear. It's also going to have Lightning's burst weapon. Now, personally, I think if you're going to be gunning for Lightning's burst weapon, this is the banner to go for. Some say Camlonaut was the better banner, but I actually like Reno. I think he's really cool, and I think he has ways to, to really provide that clutch that your party needs as far as like a debuffer. So if you're gunning for Lightning's burst, I personally recommend this is the banner to go for. Now, as far as Reno's other banner mates, you have General Leo, who at this point in the game has slightly aged, but he does have that 2-turn delay. He does have that really powerful buff where as long as it's active on an enemy target, his skill 2 will be delaying them by 2 turns, and they're going to be receiving more damage, from single target attacks, which is, pretty nice. And then afterward, you have Rosa at this point in the game as a support character has really aged, in my personal opinion. She was great during the Cosmos era. She was great when she got her EX Plus, kind of lasting all the way up until like late mid Chaos, and then she definitely started to fall behind when we started seeing more powerful supports such as Arciela and Aphmau, for example. But Rosa, if you're looking for a character that still provides decent battery, great auras, and then she could also heal you with her EX, then she's a decent pickup. But as far as the banner goes, she's definitely probably the weakest of the bunch because she's just a little bit more of a dated support character. But all in all, Reno himself is a fantastic character. I personally think he's worth the pickup. Now, depending on your guys' resources, and if you guys are looking for somebody like him, really take a look at your resources and decide if you need another debuffer that can also shut enemies down from dealing damage to you at all. If you find value in that kind of a character, then maybe Reno is going to be worth the pickup. But remember, this month is a pretty hefty month because, we just had Lightning who just came out, and she's like breaking the game right now, taking so many turns and, making Lufenia a little bit more manageable at this point. And then afterwards, you had Camlonaut, who's actually a pretty underrated character. And then afterwards, there's going to be a character coming out later this month, which is Rude, who is another Turk member that I know a lot of you guys are pretty excited for. So just take a look at your resources, ask yourself if you need another powerful debuffer that can shut enemies down, and then afterwards make your decision as far as pulling for Reno. But those are going to be my overall thoughts about Reno and the banner, and now we're going to go ahead and do that Let's Play for Reno, so then that way you guys have a visual sneak peek of how this character performs. Guys, so here we are with our Let's Play for Reno. Now, I am taking a Final Fantasy themed party, a Final Fantasy VII themed party here. As you can see, I got Reno, I got Rude, who's coming out later this month for Global, and then I got Sephiroth, who's getting his LD and Burst weapon later this month too. So I wanted to take a Final Fantasy VII themed team. Now, I will be doing videos separately for these 2 other characters, but we're going to be focusing on Reno. So let's just have Rude do his thing here. Okay, so with Reno, remember, if you fully realize his EX weapon, he is going to be starting off with 8 turns of his Turk Strike Captain, which is very, very good because he's going to have the Thunder enchant to himself, and he's also going to be dropping 4 turns, or 6 turns, of the Turk's Light, which, further decreases the enemy's stats and also implies the Thunder Imperil, and that is with a framed Thunder Imperil, which is really, really powerful. So with Reno, his rotation it really depends on what you need and what the scenario is. So for example, in this situation, I want to apply Numb with his skill 1. So then that way, in case these enemies want to hit me with a physical attack, they're not going to do nearly as much damage. I'm going to be lowering their physical defense, and then afterwards, they're going to be delayed by 2 turns after they use that physical attack. So we're going to go ahead and start off with that. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so that one was a magical attack. So that's a magical attack. So unfortunately, we did not get the 2-turn delay. But I still want that there anyways because we're not in any sort of danger where I need to use Pyramid and pretty much shut the enemy's offense down. So that's the reason why I went with Numb. Now with Sephiroth, we're just going to go ahead and use his LD skill here. Again, I'll make a separate video for this. Now, the LD version you're going to see of Sephiroth is with his LD extension boards. The character recently got a rework too, which was very exciting because I know a lot of people were kind of iffy about Sephiroth because he didn't get an upgrade right away when he first gets his LD and burst weapon. Okay, so now for the purposes of the video, what I want to go ahead and do is show off Reno's LD skill. So Reno's LD skill, remember, he does an 8-hit AoE Thunder Melee AoE Brave plus AoE HP attack. It does do 100% AoE HP damage, and then it applies that really powerful Pyramid debuff, which has no turn duration. But remember, it gets dispelled if pretty much the enemy tries to attack you with a Brave or HP attack, or they do some sort of an ability that applies a debuff. So that's the only way that it could be cleansed off. And also remember, as long as Pyramid is active, all of your characters will be dealing an additional 20% additional Brave damage to the enemies that are inflicted with Pyramids. We're going to go ahead and see Pyramid in action. Alright, as you can see, it has no duration. Okay, so as you can see right there, because that attack missed, Pyramid actually stayed on B. So because that missed, Pyramid is still stuck on B. So now B is going to be going next, and you're going to see they're about to unleash, their powerful, recast ability, and it's not going to do any damage. All right, so with Sephiroth, let's go ahead and use his skill 1. And this is the reworked version of his skill 1, so it's pretty powerful. All right, so now let's see what B does here. As you can see, no damage. And that's pretty much it. So Reno honestly is a very, very straightforward character. Now he does have access to his C65, which is something that I do want to point out. With Rude, let's just go ahead and go with the skill 1 here. Because what Reno's C65 does, it pretty much extends the base duration of all of the debuffs that he inflicts. So let's actually do that. Okay, so then what we're going to go ahead and do now is apply Numb. So let's actually apply Numb. Or actually, you know what? Let's go with Pyramid because they're going to be doing its recast ability. So let's just get another Pyramid so we can see Pyramid in action again. Okay, so we take no damage, which is pretty awesome. And then afterwards, it's Sephiroth. Let's go with his skill 2. All right, let's see what these enemies are going to be doing. So they're going to attack Rude. So unfortunately, we're not seeing Numb's additional effect in action because they're not using physical attacks, but it's fine. At least we get to see how the ability looks like. And now we're going to go ahead and use his EX, which is Turk's Light. So this is going to be his EX that reapplies his Turk's Light debuff, which has the Thunder Imperil, which is very powerful. All right, so we've gone over that. So the last things that I want to go over is his skill 2. So his skill 2 is pretty much you're going to use that when you need to reapply his Turk Strike Captain debuff. When you notice that debuff is about to expire, that's generally when you want to use his skill 2. So we're going to allow Reno to get his one more turn here so we can see his skill 2. So right now, Reno has 3 turns of Turk Strike Captain left. So we're going to go ahead and reapply it here with his skill 2 so you guys get to see Electric Dance in action. And then he always has access to his HP attack plus if you do want to save his skills. Remember, he does have 10 usage of his... He has 10 uses of his skill 1 and 7 uses of his skill 2, which is pretty cool. But that's pretty much how to play Reno, guys. He's very straightforward. Really depends on the situation on whether you go with skill 1 or you go into his LD. If you're expecting like a very powerful incoming attack, for example, a recast ability, then maybe you want to go with Pyramid. So then that way you could shut that down. And then if you're not expecting something like that and you want that Numb debuff on, especially if they're physically oriented bosses, then go ahead and slap on that skill 1, get those 4 turns of Numb, so then that way if they touch you with their physical attacks, they're going to get delayed by 2 turns. But this is going to go ahead and conclude the video for Reno. Again, thank you guys again for watching. Hopefully this helps you guys prepare for Reno's debut in Global Opera Omnia. This is 40 the Broadway Saiyan signing out. Mahal, everyone.